Camilla Løw is a Norwegian artist who studied sculpture at Glasgow School of Art in the late 90s. I've been following her work for some time, first in group shows and then later in a number of solo shows. As a curator, I've a particular interest in the relationship between contemporary art and modernism, and also the way that we might make relationships between the history of art and our day-to-day experiences. I think that I was first impressed by the way her work related to and formed a conversation with the history of 20th century sculpture, but it also referred very much to contemporary culture. I'm thinking here about the kind of family ideas from Russian Constructivism, Malevich, Rodchenko, Stepnova and Tatlin, to international modernism like De Stijl and Bauhaus artists, and also American minimalism, artists like Donald Judd and Solowit. So whilst the history is important, it's also the connection you make with the materials and the titles and the way that you make visual associations with culture beyond the gallery, like DIY and lifestyle stores, urban planning and fashion and music and things. The work also deals with a lot of traditional sculptural values, so the nature of materials and the relationship between 2- and 3-dimensional space, artistic production, the distinction between the handmade and the manufactured, and how work sits or leans or is suspended. The space between the work and the relationship to the architecture is very much a part of the work, and as important as the pieces themselves. And so for me it was particularly exciting to see the gallery opened up and see Camilla work with the architecture. It was great to see some of the original intentions, to view the white-walled space, but also by opening up the windows to see the world beyond the gallery. Enabling an artist at a very particular stage in their career to work with such a challenging space and work with the crew here at DCA is a really important part of what we can do.
My name is Camilla Løw and I'm Norwegian. I grew up in Norway, then moved to Glasgow, went to Glasgow School of Art, where I did my sculpture degree, and then I moved to San Francisco for a bit, and then back to Norway, where I'm living right now, making work. The whole idea about the show, because it did happen with not too long to prepare, but long enough to prepare, we decided, not enough time to make all new work for the show, being given it such a much bigger space than I've ever worked in before. So we decided to focus on a few new works and then borrow works from either collectors or collections or institutions that had them, and also works that maybe never been shown in Britain before. I didn't actually cast the concrete myself, but there were the gallery assistants who work here did cast them, built the molds and cast them, and all the material is obviously from the area. So I think that was quite nice to bring that in alongside pieces that have been made in different parts of Europe. I don't think there's any from San Francisco, but yeah. It's quite an abstract title, although it actually does come from Sao Paulo graffiti. The graffiti is very different in Sao Paulo to what it is, for example, in New York, where it's more a street level based. In Sao Paulo, it's also graffiti in Sao Paulo is often on high-rise buildings and high up, and instead of being very bold and loads of colours, it's mostly black and very singular lines. And I like the idea that you can imagine them standing balancing on a windowsill, painting with a roller high up, and it's sort of what the body can do physically, how they can paint it and balancing. And I kind of like this idea with these lines in a space, sort of how the sculptures become lines in a space, and also on balancing on different concrete or architectural, industrial material. What I really want is to make a show where you can walk in and around and amongst the work, sort of see them from different angles and different viewpoints, and where the show does change slightly from where you stand the sort of more frame type work, or they frame each other and you create viewpoints looking through them and looking onto other works as well as walking around them. I think it's quite important, and that the whole gallery, both Gallery 1 and Gallery 2, are one show. It's not two separate shows, rather than, you know, even though they're in two different rooms. But I try to keep it as open as possible, and that you can access the gallery from two different doors, and it sort of gives you the same experience walking both in from Gallery 1 as from Gallery 2.